The Hasidic Grand Rabbi of Gur, 1 year before he was crowned, was quite impoverished. Nevertheless, you couldn't tell that he was anxious, and he continued with his service to God as if nothing bothered him. His wife was very troubled. She was very anxious, and she couldn't take it that he's going around as if nothing is bothering him. And she told him so. She was a bundle of anxiety. So he answered her that she simply doesn't understand what he's all about. He said to her, "Everyone knows that I'm a genius." She acquiesced. He says, "What does that mean, that I'm a genius?" "It means that when I'm studying a very difficult Talmudic tractate that would take someone all day to complete a page, I do it in 2 minutes." "Right?" She said, "Yes." He said to her, "I am no less anxious than you are about our situation. It's simply that what takes you all day to be anxious, I do it in 2 minutes. Just as with my learning, I do in 2 minutes what other people can do in a day." We have to understand that when we speak for 90 seconds, that doesn't mean that Ohel has any less need for support, just as in the case I've told you. It's in no less need of support today as when it was founded. That is the message of 90 seconds. The audience should perceive those needs and respond in seconds. As a result, God will hasten to bring us the Messianic epoch, the Geula Shlema, b'mehera v'yameinu, Amen. Thank you.
I want to recognize the 650 people who came to work throughout the pandemic to take care of these 511 men and women that live in our residences, our homes and apartments. We thank you. You are essential, and you are our heroes.
My name is Jamila. I work at 52nd Street Residence.
Moshe Verslizer. I'm a residence manager at 41st Street.
Shalom Esgla.
Jiri Adamar. My name's Sarah Feingold, and I'm a direct support professional.
Ohel is a great agency, I must say. I love it.
Cut it up.
I've never taken a day off. Been here throughout the pandemic.
Desperate new measures in some states to slow the spread of the coronavirus.
When the whole epidemic was just kicking in, that was kind of my first question. What's Ohel going to do?
Almost 100,000 businesses permanently closed since the pandemic. There is no help in sight from taxpayers.
COVID changed everybody's life, but Ohel rise up.
We made some quick decisions following the guidelines established by New York City, New York State, CDC. Our priority would be to protect our clients and employees, to protect the community that we serve, and within a day or two, to pivot to remote work so that we can continue serving the 20,000 people that Ohel serves on a daily basis.
At no point did Ohel say, we can't help.
Never before has the subway shut down because of an effect on public health.
The city's buses and trains are being closed up. We were coming to work every day. But this is what Ohel's supposed to do. If we're not there for the community, then what are we doing?
There's some organizations in a pandemic almost shut down because there's no need for the services. This is an organization that the services and the needs have just exploded. The phones that always were busy have been ringing off the hook.
We look back now, we just don't know how we did what we did, but we did it. Pivoted literally overnight.
We have to sort of change our whole approach.
How do you do play therapy over telemental health? Usually you play with kids in a room, you have blocks, you have toys, you have dolls. Not only did we learn how to do that, but we became leaders in the field.
Dealing with ambiguous situations, there's even research to support that. We will sort of delude ourselves.
We obviously pivoted to largely Zoom interventions.
We established a TheraZoom platform, therapy over Zoom. People called in from Canada, from Israel, from England, from Australia.
We really wanted to do something proactive to support the mental health needs of children.
The COVID-19 Resilience Workbook is a masterpiece.
It has been downloaded literally thousands of times, used by tens of thousands of people from around the world.
In addition to the United States and Israel, Australia, Brazil, Canada, England, France, Germany, India, Italy, Mexico, the Netherlands, Nigeria, South Africa, Spain, Sweden, to name a few.
We've opened our platform and we've reached out to many more people.
There's actually 2 copies of the workbook. There is the Yeshiva Day School version and there's the secular version. It's been very popular in our Yeshiva and Day School settings, and I would say equally popular in secular and diverse communities, which is something we're really proud of.
The workbook is aimed to impart to the children effective coping mechanisms for even when COVID is over. Teachers who are using it, they see a palpable difference.
We became a leader in creating curricula.
People who never heard of Ohel before know the professional work that we do. In one case I'll never forget was about a child who had cigarette butt burns put on him by a parent. It's unconscionable to hear these things, and when you hear these things, you can't say no.
1, 2, 3, 4.
What does Ohel do? Ohel does everything, really everything. I would say, what does Ohel not do?
You know, I think people view Ohel as a place for disabilities, but it's not just that. Ohel is there for every type of help that's needed, for every human being that needs help.
If not for Ohel, who knows where these people would be, you know? Some of them would be in hospitals, would be in streets, would be homeless. Some of them have no family.
It's a challenging job, but it's very fulfilling.
Sometimes it's a bit hard, but all the women inside are so worth it.
You have to have patience, of course, but with patience, you could do anything.
I love what I do. I really do.
I feel like I'm really part of this huge family here, and I don't think I felt this anywhere else.
And I want to thank Ohel for giving me this position.
I really enjoy being able to just be with these women.
It fulfills my needs to be a giver.
Ohel helped me find my calling.
And it's my honor to be able to be of service. It gives me a reason for living. We wish that there was no need for an Ohel. But as long as there's a need, thank God we have Ohel.
Welcome to the live broadcast of Ohel's 51st annual gala. Tonight, we are honoring the remarkable achievements of this community of compassion and service. We are coming together to share just a few of the extraordinary stories Ohel's work is bringing into the world, as well as acknowledging the extraordinary people who work behind the scenes to make it happen. It's my joy to be here with you hosting tonight's program. My name is Brett Culp. It was my delight to be part of Ohel's 50th gala over a year ago, and I'm so grateful to be invited back. I'm such an open-hearted person, and I cried on stage during the last program. And I was nearly a puddle of tears watching that first video a minute ago. I will count it as one of the biggest accomplishments of my career if I can keep from crying over the next hour. Now, I know you're watching from home tonight. I'm at home too, but I suspect you're not wearing a tie. You're most likely in your pajamas, and I am incredibly jealous. But we want you to be comfortable. Grab a nice spot on the couch and enjoy the show. In fact, I think I'm going to sit down too. Here's a photo of me and my family, and yes, I am definitely the shortest one. That's what happens when you marry a woman who's 3 inches taller than you. So my not-so-little boy standing next to me in this photo is Judah. He's on the autism spectrum, and I've learned so much from him during our 15-year journey together. As a father of a special needs child myself, the work of Ohel is dear to my heart. To everyone on staff, to each volunteer, and to everyone who contributes to these noble efforts, from my family to yours, thank you. Particularly for your efforts since last March. And there are countless hearts who are also grateful for Ohel's support through mental health services, domestic violence shelters, and so many other weighty challenges our communities have faced. The individuals and families you serve can never adequately express how much you mean to them. Although you are watching from home, you are not alone tonight. Please know with complete certainty that at this very moment, there are generous individuals just like you who are also watching. And although we can't be physically together this evening, we are one in heart and in mission. Whether you've been part of Ohel's inspiring efforts for 51 years, or tonight is your very first look at this organization, we are united in bringing healing and wholeness to the world. We are joined in the commitment to say to every person, you matter. Your life is important. You are worthy of care, and this community is here for you. Tonight, we are celebrating the strength of those words. It's easy to get caught up in the sad words of the past year. Uncertainty, anxiety, disconnection, illness, unknowns. But tonight, we are focused on words like resilience, determination, adaptability, commitment, expertise, and hope. And above all, we are celebrating strength. Though the challenges and struggles have been many, the past year hasn't broken Ohel. It has instead revealed its strength. This organization has lived up to its promise as a tent that never folds. Even during the most difficult circumstances, Ohel was there. From crisis came innovation. The wisdom and leadership developed over 50 years prepared Ohel to pivot, innovate, and come out of the pandemic even better equipped to meet the needs of the community. But this evening, we are celebrating even more. We are also honoring your strength, your ability to fight on with bravery for your family and loved ones, with generosity for your community, with hope for the future. And tonight, we're calling on your strength again. Our time together is an invitation for you to engage with the uplifting mission and work of Ohel. And we will talk about that more tonight. Last spring, there were moments when food and supplies were hard to come by. During this moment of crisis, there was an important focus on the residences run by Ohel to ensure that everyone living in these homes were taken care of and provided for. And that leads us to the first people being honored this evening. Tonight's guests of honor have given back to the community in so many ways, particularly through their business, Gourmet Glot. Please join me in celebrating our guests of honor, Toby and Yoli Steinberg.
Excuse me, have you seen Yoli?
Yeah, I think I saw him in the fresh bakery.
Excuse me, have you seen Yoli?
I think I saw him going to the produce department.
Yoli could be everywhere and is everywhere.
I think he's by the dairy department.
Yeah, maybe it's by the office.
Hello, how can I help you? Gourmet Glot is in existence for 30 plus years. We are a community store, and that's our focus. I like when people come in and everybody goes home happy. We have residents of Ohel helping in the bagging areas, their love of life just come forward to the customers. We put into our people that our people should be understanding, helpful, provide the best service. If you want to separate yourself, it's how you treat another person. At this time, we supply the Ohel homes, the food supplies at cost that no one could ever imagine, that it could be done at that price point. That was just only because of my firm attachment and belief in the mission of caring for the Ohel residents.
We're going right here.
Whatever we could do to facilitate easing the crisis. I take it as a big personal responsibility, no matter what we're facing.
I just have a chance to have a sneak into Yoeli's life and see what he does. It is unbelievable. He's the ultimate gift for a community.
He sees a need and he jumps at it, as Ohel does. This is the shidduch between Toby, Yoeli, and Ohel, and it's a wonderful shidduch.
What was your reaction when they asked you to be an honoree?
Absolutely not. There's a siyata d'shmaya that Hashem gives you. You go all the way with it, usually even more than you could ever expect. Limelight, first and foremost, interferes with that. I expressed my hesitations, and it was brought to my attention that the possibility exists that we would go to see Reb Shmuel Kamenetsky. He quite frankly said, there are no hesitations. It's an obligation. When someone gets the tap on the shoulder, in Shemayim, they're saying, it's your turn now. There's no more I in it. In this case, it's all Ohel.
Ohel and my in-laws, they have the same mission, serving the needs of the community.
Not 2 or 3 days go by before I bump into someone and they're like, your father-in-law? Just know he's a tzaddik for what he did.
He devotes a lot of his time to the community, and anything my father does, my mother, she totally supports, and she gives up from her own personal time, knowing that he's giving to others, and that makes her proud, and it makes us proud.
I wouldn't be able to accomplish anything without the backbone that my wife provides. Toby and I, we know the importance of this year more than every other year, showing our support.
Mazel tov to my parents on accepting this honor for Ohel.
I consider myself really lucky to have truly amazing in-laws.
I am so excited for you both tonight. I love you both so very, very much.
Mazel tov, Ma'anta.
We're so proud to be part of this family, and you inspire us.
There really isn't enough that we can say or do to show enough regards for all the good that you do for all of us.
I'd like to thank everyone on behalf of my wife and I. We did what we can for Ohel, and in turn, we inspired you to do what you can for Ohel.
What an extraordinary contribution. I want to clap for Toby and Yoeli, and even though we aren't face-to-face this evening, I encourage you to clap when you experience a beautiful moment. I think the smiles and the applause are good for our hearts. Yoeli, your generous works and uplifting words are an inspiration. Your efforts are lifting this community, and together we say a giant thank you. You're amazing. All of our honorees tonight will be receiving their awards after the gala, and we hope they will be reminders of the love and respect we have for them. As you hear from tonight's honorees and learn more about these stories, please take a few minutes to personally engage with this effort and make a contribution. You can do that anytime during the program by visiting the website www.ohelfamily.org/donate. That's ohelfamily.org/donate. Or, if you're on the webpage, ohelstrength.org, right now, you can click the Donate Now button. Thanks for joining in this effort and making a positive difference for others. In so many ways, Ohel is driven forward by its volunteers. Volunteers enrich the lives of the individuals served by Ohel, and I have a feeling that the volunteers would tell you that as they give of their time, they are the ones who truly receive the gift. The Nadiv Lev Award honors men and women who have shown a heart of gold. And this year's recipients are Shawnee and Dove Weinstock. Herrick is proud to support their colleague and friend, Dove Weinstock, in the generous work he does for Ohel. And I'm honored to introduce Shawnee and Dove as this year's Nadiv Lev recipients.
Oh, I had it in my head again. Just gets foggy.
Snip. A couple of years after we had moved in, David Mendel called us. He wanted to discuss something. I assumed right off the bat that he was going to sell me Amway. As it turns out, he was telling me that we were going to have a base Ezra on our block. First reaction was lukewarm. We were nervous. And I got to say, David Mendel lied to us that day. He told us we're not going to notice them. The truth is that we do notice them, and we absolutely love it. The kids just bring joy to the block. It's the best thing for our chinuch because we're able to show our kids how life works. We look at people as people, and in whatever circumstances they are. That's the way Ohel looks at people.
It's been just like natural. They just see the kids outside. They know they're part of our block. The boys work in stores that we shop at. They're just part of our lives.
We see them in shul. We know them by name. They know our kids by name. But they're not kids. They're adults.
They have the joy of kids in them, always. I remember when David came to tell us that they're opening a house, and then he said, oh, it's for the Rising Boys, and we were just ecstatic.
If there is a family in need, Ohel's there. One person's issue, be it physical, be it mental, is a family's issue, and Ohel is there. And if the service hasn't been provided yet and there's a new service needed, Ohel's going to be the one to provide it. Ohel does a lot of things dealing with needs that people don't see. The people that need them know them. The people that don't need them don't even realize that what goes on.
So I wanted to wish Dov and Chani a great mazel tov on taking this honor. It's a tremendous accomplishment for you guys. You should see much nachas from your children. You should continue your avodas hakodesh.
Everything they do is with such devotion. If there's some need that the shul needs, my father is the first one. If there's something that the shul needs in terms of, I'll give an example of shalchmanis, my mother jumps up.
In the beginning of the year, we had a kid in our class who tested positive. One of the rabbeim called my father and asked if they could use our backyard for a Rebbe to give shir. Father said yes. They were here within 20 minutes, and my mother had the whole backyard set up with food and drinks and everything, and we had shir for a week and a half there. As much as you think you don't deserve this, you are really one of you're the most special people in my life. My father happens to be one of the most proactive people when it comes to just if there's somebody that doesn't have a place to eat for Shabbos, I'll invite him for Shabbos. And my mother the same. She'll bend over backwards, do anything for anybody.
Mazel tov, Mommy and Daddy. Thank you so much for being great parents.
Mazel tov, Mommy and Daddy. Thank you for all you do to us and how you support Ohel.
I think my parents are terrific and wonderful. Mazel tov.
We appreciate every one of our friends and family that supported our doing this, that came out for us, or at least are watching the video. We don't consider it an honor as much as something we can do for the organization. They need people to step up, and how can you say no to an organization that only says yes? That's so beautiful. It's a reminder of the power each of us have to make a difference for others. Thanks to Shawnee and Dov Weinstock for their wonderful efforts. I want to shift for a moment to a topic that's heavy but very important. I'm sure it's occurred to you during these lockdowns that for some people, staying at home isn't a safe place. For people suffering from domestic abuse and violence, the past year has been a tragic situation, and the cases have been rising. For a woman who needs to escape from an abusive environment, whether they're leaving alone or with children, the path is always difficult and threatening. But over the past 12 months, it could have been impossible, because there was nowhere to go. You may not realize that Ohel runs the only Jewish domestic violence shelters in the region. Women come with their children to a safe place where they are understood and surrounded by a community who shares their values. When they are most vulnerable, Ohel provides physical care, but also the emotional and mental support they need. During the pandemic, Ohel's shelters were more important than ever, and the Domestic Violence Helpline received an unprecedented number of calls. Moving forward, Ohel is ready to support these beautiful souls during times of trouble. And it's your support that makes that possible. Our dear friend Wilma Klassen has once again written a special song to share with us this evening.
Always a dreamer, a star still unknown. My favors expected, his heart was of stone. In time he'd remind me, his power defined me. My life never felt like my home. Always a dreamer, I lost all control. Fooled by the limelight, the price was my soul. I walked the red carpet in smiles fixed and few. His evil so twisted was proven. He's finished, he's friendless, he's through. Once out of his shadow, I found a voice describing my silent tears. Trusting old friends, they encouraged me, banished all my fears. Always a dreamer, I had it wrong, basking in glamour, unreal for too long. Along with the glitter and gloss, his crushing remarks are no law. I've discovered a reason to be, a life worth the living. I'm free.
Domestic abuse is a weighty issue, but I am so grateful for Ohel's work every day to walk into these dark spaces and help these women and children find freedom and hope for the future. Through the helplines and shelters, it's tremendously important work. And this is just one example of Ohel's impact on the community. But it can't happen without your generosity. Please take a minute right now to make a donation to help it continue. You can contribute online at www.ohelfamily.org/donate. That's ohelfamily.org/donate. Or if you're on the webpage ohelstrength.org right now, you can click the Donate Now button. Your support brings more light into the world, and I'm so grateful for you. Another way you can be involved is through being a volunteer. Sharing your time and energy with others is such a rewarding experience because when you're struggling, sometimes one of the best things you can do is help bring light to another. It can lift everyone up in the process. Tonight, I'm so pleased to present the Shem Tov Award. And this family certainly has a good name within the Ohel community for their spirit to give to others. Tonight's recipients of the Shem Tov Award are Libby and Shloimi Dax.
People often ask me, what does Ohel do? Foster care? And I'm amazed by the question because the organization started as foster care, but it has blossomed into an organization that takes every community challenge, meets those challenges, and represents the community like no other. Once you get involved with Ohel, you realize they are not just an organization, they are a family. And it changes your life, it changes your home, your children. They transform lives. Before COVID, we also had the unbelievable opportunity to have pizza parties on Thursday nights in our home. And I want to take this opportunity to thank my wife, Libby, because if you don't have a wife supporting you and allowing you to open your home, it won't happen. Ohel is their home. It's their roof over their head. It's their warmth during the winter. It's their cool breeze during the summer. It's their food. It's their life. It's everything. My son David was at Camp Kaylee when it first started, that first summer. And I'll never forget how happy he was when he came home that summer. He had never experienced a summer like that in his life. And he even got to sing on the Camp Kaylee video.
So I was introduced to Ohel when I was just a little kid. I grew up with Ohel kids around me. I grew up with the entire organization as part of our lives. Every Thursday night when I was younger, we would have them all over for a pizza party. And it was just a part of me. I was able to go to Camp Kaylee, which was the most unbelievable experience in my life. It made all these special needs kids feel like they were part of a regular camp. We played sports together, we slept in the same bunkhouses, we did everything together, and we grew friendships with kids with special needs. And it was such a special bond, and it's such a special camp. I'm so thankful to Ohel and my parents, because if not for both of them, I would probably be a different person.
You are the example of what a board member should be, because you, Shlomi and Libby, show by example how it is that Hashem wants a human being to treat another human being. Your home is open to the disadvantaged. To honor you and Libby is an honor in and of itself. You have the ability to lift people who suffer. You make them feel good about themselves when there are many times that they don't. And I am proud that you are the honoree. You, Libby, are the honorees of Ohel.
To my dearest parents and in-laws who are getting this honor tonight, thank you for everything you do for us as a family and for everything you do for the Klal. You both are the most amazing role models, and we hope to continue your legacy of chesed. Mazel tov on these well-deserved honors.
Wow. Both Naomi's parents and in-laws were honored tonight. That is truly incredible, but I know not surprising to anyone who knows these families. And right now, we have a really special surprise for the Dax and Steinberg families.
Hey everyone, hope you all are enjoying. At this point, I would like to say Mazel Tov to my parents and to my in-laws on this well-deserved honor. Tzarchi Tzibor really sums up what my parents and my in-laws are all about, so I'd like to dedicate this song to you. Yitzi, take it away.
Oy v'chol mi she'oiskir v'tzarchi tzibur be'emuna Oy HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishalem Zichara Oy v'chol mi V'tzarchi tzibor be'emuna HaKadosh Yibaruch Hu Yishalem Zichara V'yasir mehem Kol Yamachalo L'chol avoyino v'yishlach bracha v'yatzlacha v'chol imase yideh in kol Yisrael achayim v'lo yimar amen hoy v'chom ishayoiskim v'tzarchi tzibur be'emuno HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishalem Sechavaro V'chol mishayoiskim v'tzarchi tzibur be'emuno HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishalem Sechavaro.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Kaylee Yacobi. I am so pleased to join you and to introduce this year's recipients of the award named for my parents, the Harvey and Gloria Kaylee Community Impact Award. Our family has been involved with Ohel and Camp Kaylee for almost 2 decades. We know the impact that Ohel's special blend of caring and of expertise has had on so many. We also know the impact that Camp Kaylee has had on children and young adults of all abilities. Each year, we honor a very special couple who, like my parents, have created a lasting legacy through their work with Ohel Camp Kaylee. I am privileged to introduce this year's recipients, Adina and Lawrence Garbouz. Here's an inside look at the wonderful Garbouz family.
They are very special people.
Their perseverance.
Both really, really committed to what they do professionally.
She's also a great wife.
It's always about taking care of those who need the most help.
She's a great mom.
Their stubbornness in the face of tremendous adversity.
And she's always at the forefront of it.
I think that makes them very, very special.
We've been working with Ohel for more than 20 years.
Ohel means tent.
And we believe in the cause.
And a tent is a shelter.
It's always about taking care of those who need the most help.
And everything that Ohel provides is a shelter for all of us.
They're the ones who look out for those vulnerable. And I think that Ohel gets tremendous credit. They were groundbreaking in that.
I was introduced to Rabbi Simcha Feuerman probably more than 20 years ago, and he and I developed a wonderful relationship, and we found that Ohel was a wonderful resource in terms of making certain that a child with special needs was taken care of.
So my household has always been built on the idea of taking care of those who need more help, but particularly my parents always spoke about Ohel in the context of we're able to help others, but Ohel was never particularly something that we were the subjects of, or we needed help ourselves. But it's as of recent that we've really noticed that no one is above struggling with mental health or any kind of trauma or catastrophe.
The whole world has discovered that in the last year, but most of us have recognized it for many more years.
And we've really in many ways become the beneficiaries of all the work Ohel has to offer.
So I think from the moment that all of our craziness sort of unfolded and began, it was really, really clear how strong both of our parents were. For instance, as soon as everything was unfolding, the only concern, even though there was a ton of, things flying around, going on around us, our parents' main concern was our family and our community and just health and safety.
When people in our family, including Natalie, got the virus, Adina showed up regularly to see how Natalie was doing.
She was always busy doing stuff.
Our house is kind of like a community center sometimes.
And Although we didn't know it at the time, she was always thinking like 5 steps ahead. As soon as our dad actually woke up from the coma, his first questions are just, how is everyone? Like, how's everybody feeling and doing? And, how can I get back and help all of you?
And for all of these decades, they have been the center link in terms of taking care of children and of adults at this point who are in need of additional help.
On behalf of their acceptance of the Gala Community Impact Award, I'd like to say congratulations. And however much people think they deserve it, I'm sure they deserve it much more than what is known on the surface.
Mom and Daddy, I love you and congratulations on winning the award.
And you guys really deserve all of this and more. We're so proud of you. Congratulations, Mom and Daddy.
As this night has gone on, it just gets clearer and clearer how many loving and generous individuals and families there are within this Ohel community. Thank you to the Garbouz family for your positive impact and influence. We appreciate you so much. Here with us tonight, Adina Lewis would like to share a special message.
Good evening. Thank you all for tuning in tonight to support Ohel, the great work it does for our community, and for coming together to celebrate strength. Mazel tov to all the wonderfully deserving honorees, Toby and Yoli Steinberg, Shani and Dov Weinstock, and Libby and Shlomi Dax, all pillars of strength in their own right. So I always want to play the lottery. I'm always sure I'm going to win. Ridiculous, I know. My husband Lawrence tells me it's a waste of money since the odds of winning are incredibly low. And of course, he's right. So sometime this past summer, I asked Lawrence, so what are the odds of you being dubbed patient zero in all of metropolitan New York? And he, a man who still does numbers in his head, took a moment and said, about the same likelihood as winning the lottery, not once, but twice in 1 week. So I think I should buy a lottery ticket. And always, Lawrence is wiser, and he rightly said, for what? We already won the lottery. So true. Today is March 7th. Can you remember your life last year, March 7th? It was just before Purim. For some of you, life was still quote-unquote normal. Exactly 1 year ago today, I was in quarantine with my family. Lawrence was on a ventilator in a medically induced coma, and we didn't know what would be. And yet, somehow I knew we would be here today, a year later, just because I couldn't envision it any other way. My thinking was that I'm unwilling to think of the what-ifs because that would drive us mad. If things were to go wrong, I would address it then, but only then. Again, I always believe I'm going to win the lottery, and somehow God humored me and allowed my inability to believe that bad could come to my family became true. It doesn't mean it wasn't scary and hard, and it doesn't mean it has been an easy year, but it has been the most cherished of years for us. We are inalterably changed. But again, we are here a year later, still on the road to healing, but here, and very grateful to be. I share our story not to suggest in any way that we had a monopoly on difficulty this past year. And in fact, so many have fared so much worse, but to express how grateful and appreciative we are to all of you who have worried for us, prayed for us, and unfortunately suffered along with us. In the end of February last year, Lawrence had a terrible cough which turned into a pneumonia. No one knew what it was, what the cause of it was, and worst of all, how to cure it. Doctors simply did not know, and when they realized it was COVID, the world around us became a whirlwind. Added to that, how do you tell your 18-year-old who is in the heart of Poland on a Shoah trip with spotty Wi-Fi that he needs to get on a plane because his father, who just days ago had a cough, is now critically ill in the ICU? How do you tell this to your daughter who is alone in Israel, 6,000 miles away? How do you explain that it is going to be okay to your 15-year-old who just sat in the ER for hours watching her father struggling to breathe? And how does your son stay calm when with his own ears he heard the doctor tell him his father likely will not make it? There's no parent training for this, so you go with your instincts and of course what was modeled for you in your life on how to handle hard times. You go into mother hen mode, just like any of you mothers would. All you can do is control your perspective, frame it with positivity, and advocate for your family. I've come to realize that I have the secret weapon, a gift bestowed by God. I don't see bad endings. When I look ahead, I see light. I used to joke with my husband and my mother-in-law, I never have to worry because they do it all for me. It's true. I'm not naive enough to know that things could have gone wrong, and I'm not unrealistic enough to realize that this year was a struggle for many and for me and my kids and of course for my husband. But somehow faith in God and others by our side helped us through these tough times. While our family story was scary, there are so many who have suffered far more. Our greater community has had so much loss, and we all know so many who have lost loved ones to this horrible virus. This has been a very rough year for everyone. Each of you has suffered in your own way. But I hope each of us has learned too. We have learned that we are stronger than we realized, have more resilience than we realized, and more courage than we realized. But to me, one of the greatest lessons has been in realizing how much we need each other. How much we are social beings who crave interaction with one another to survive. We see how debilitating it is for people to be alone, mentally, cognitively, and otherwise. And just the same, we have learned that by sharing with each other and connecting with each other, there is healing. A few weeks ago, my family had the treat of getting some respite in Florida. I was at the pool speaking to a woman I did not know. So what did we talk about? All that anybody talks about today, COVID. Soon enough, another woman came over and joined the conversation, and then another and another. In the end, 7 or 8 women were all at the end of the pool discussing our year. They were all from different levels of religiosity, from Brooklyn, Monroe, Teaneck, me from New Rochelle. One woman had lost her husband from COVID last year, Pesach. He was in the hospital for 2 weeks and sadly died there alone. Another woman explained how her father-in-law passed away also alone and how the family was grappling with it. Another one's daughter-in-law was critically ill. We all discussed how grandmothers and relatives sat alone making a one-person Seder and how each family found a way to bring a little of Yontif togetherness for them. Some dressed up as if it was Yontif and videoed a Seder, and some made a Seder scrapbook. We all have our own COVID story, and many are far worse and more tragic than our families. These women represented strength. They were tending to their families with what I would call fierce tenderness. And it made me think to what Dr. Blumenthal, the Ohel trauma specialist, said to me when I participated in one of the TheraZoom sessions. You don't need to be a trained therapist to heal. You need to share your story, and those hearing it, just by knowing that they are not alone in their suffering, it brings healing and strength. I think that's what was happening that day at the pool. There was healing in the sharing. When I consider what strength means, I don't think of it as never crying, or never worrying, or never being uncertain. That's unrealistic, unhuman-like, if that's a word. We all falter, we all have moments of weakness, but being able to accept help when we need it is strength too. Getting therapy when needed, asking for help when you cannot do it yourself, knowing that's what you need is its own form of strength. For over 50 years, Ohel has been supporting and rescuing those who are most vulnerable in our community. Their work is unrivaled. It is Ohel that courts turn to when a Jewish child needs protective services. It is Ohel that offers assistance when there's a trauma in one of our Jewish schools. It is Ohel who gives elderly parents solace that their special needs child will be cared for properly when they are gone. None of this was something we, as a community, should ever have taken for granted. And yet, a year ago, many of us might have thought that Ohel does this for others, but not for me personally. But this year, we have all learned it is for all of us. COVID has left us all with mental health issues, even if we don't know it. We have all suffered, and I may think I'm fine. My children may think they are fine until something small happens, and you find your reaction is not small. Why did I freak out when my dad merely coughed? Because sometime last year when he did that, he ended up in a coma. That's why. A year ago, I shared our story, our feelings, to change the narrative of what was happening around us. And more recently, I shared our story on an Ohel TheraZoom so others would realize they are not alone in their feelings. But now it's a year later. And while I consider what I've learned from this experience, I've come to realize that the strongest and bravest person this past year, no doubt, has been my husband, Lawrence. With neither frustration nor complaint, he has endured tremendous pain as well as having to come to terms with what has happened to him. He remembers in February of last year feeling sick, having a terrible cough. He remembers going to the doctor and being told he had pneumonia and that he should go immediately to the ER. He remembers sitting with our youngest daughter and his name being called by the nurse. And that's where his memory of that time ends. 3 weeks of his life were completely erased, as if they never happened. It's frightening to realize that you cannot trust your memory. Ironically, Lawrence is someone who has an excruciatingly good memory. He recalls things that happened many years ago with great detail, not just monumental things, everything. But then again, there's a blessing in the amnesia, not remembering what he felt those days when he was so ill. Since that time, I've filled him in on those weeks, and he has filled me in on what happened in the hospital when I couldn't be there. He explains that one of the hardest parts was being alone, especially since even medical staff were reluctant to tend to him. There was so much unknown. Dropping something and knowing you had no ability to pick it up. The vulnerability of not being able to take care of oneself was very difficult. But if you ask him what was the absolute worst part, he would say the loneliness of not being able to have his family and friends nearby. COVID is lonely. So here we are now. Where does my family's COVID story end? Where does each of your COVID stories end? We don't know. Only time will tell. But I know we also look forward to COVID being discussed only in the past tense. I believe and hope I'm right that there is spring in the air, metaphorically and otherwise. I look forward to meeting each and every one of you in person in the near future. In the meanwhile, together, we shall remain strong. Tonight, we celebrate our resilience and all that Ohel has and does to bring about the strength in each one of us. Chazak ve'ematz. Thank you.
Thank you, Adina, for those wonderful, hopeful words. Your story and the story of your family is an inspiration to us and an encouragement to press on, even in dark times, to look for the light. Thank you so much for sharing that. And now, I know why one of the reasons you're still hanging on tonight is because we have a special moment now. It's the raffle. And these results from the raffle, we're going to announce 2 winners tonight, 2 special winners. And the results of that have been randomly selected by Cerbelli Creative, who's the production team behind the scenes making this virtual event happen. So the first envelope, please. Thank you. This prize, this award, is for free tuition to Ohel's Camp Kaylee, which we've talked about a little bit tonight. What an extraordinary camp it is and an extraordinary experience for these young people. This is for summer 2021, and this is for registered campers. So those who have already registered were involved in this drawing, and that free tuition goes to Mark and Adina Pinner from Queens, New York. Congratulations on that. Mark and Adina Pinner from Queens, New York. We're so excited for you and for your family. And now I need the second envelope. Let's switch. Wonderful. Now this is the big one. This is for a trip to Dubai. It includes airfare and luxury hotel accommodations, and it also includes itinerary and introductions curated by the Chief Rabbi of the United Arab Emirates, who is a proud Camp Kaylee parent. And so this prize for the trip to Dubai goes to Lawrence Rossman from Queens, New York. Congratulations, Lawrence. And if you don't have anyone else to go with you, I'm a documentary filmmaker who's available. What an incredible trip this is. Congratulations to Lawrence Rossman on this great award and prize. That is wonderful. Now, I want to share one more thought with you as we wrap up tonight. Let's go back in the other room and I'll meet you there. Thank you for being here tonight to celebrate the strength of the Ohel community and to look to the future. Much has been accomplished, but there is still so much yet to do. Right now, there are children without families. There are women trapped in abusive situations. There are beautiful souls overwhelmed with anxiety and struggling with trauma. The needs are real and urgent. Maybe you are sitting in your home right now and in your heart you know you need help, but you're afraid or embarrassed to reach out. This isn't a time for shame. All of us are struggling. Ohel is here for you. While so many others were closing up, Ohel was renewing its strength, finding new and innovative ways to serve and sharing its resources and wisdom with individuals and families in need around the world. The inspiring stories we have experienced tonight are evidence of the love and kindness all around us. While the headlines are often ugly, there is so much light within this community and within each one of us. There is good ahead. And the more we come together and support each other, the more reasons we have to be hopeful. Ohel has come to this time of anxiety and unknowns with an open heart and open arms. Again and again, they have shown their commitment to support and help. And this evening, you are invited to bring that same spirit, to bring your commitment to be part of this essential work. Maybe you need help. Maybe you can help. Wherever you are in your journey right now, you are invited. If you can, we ask for your support of Ohel. Volunteer in some way, encourage your friends and family to get involved, make a financial contribution. Whether you can make a gift of $5,000 or $10,000 or $100, all of it matters. All of it makes a difference. All of it is needed right now. All of it shows your belief that there is beauty ahead, and all of us will get there together. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And thank you for celebrating the strength of the Ohel community. As I say goodnight, I'm delighted to turn the stage over to Moish Hellman to close the evening.
Hamalach hagoel osi, Hamalach hagoel osi mikol ro, Yevorech esan yorim, Vikorei bohem shemi. V'shem avosai, v'shem avosai, Avram v'Yitzchok, v'yitgol arov, v'yitgol arov, b'kerev